Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Why did this have to happen? Hinata Hyuga let out an irritated sigh as she checked her watch for like the 100 since she boarded the bus. It seemed like luck just wasn't on her side today. She had decided to try to be a productive student and spend a good 15 minutes studying for her biology exam in her university's library before work. But the lack of sleep from the previous night and the oh-so-boring material got the best of her. And the next thing she knew she was waking up 30 minutes later, her books scattered beneath her and a trail of drool leaking out of the corner of her mouth on one of library's tables. Giving her exactly 10 minutes to get work on time. Now here she was pacing back and forth on the bus heading towards her job, holding herself back from running up and taking the steering wheel from the bus driver, so she could drive at full speed to her job. She had never been late before. She was always on time, early even, a role model employee, and now her punctuality was about to be ruined over some stupid class she hated to begin with. Why oh why didn't anyone wake her up or even check to see if she was still breathing for that matter? Hinata knew with her kinda boss she knew she would not hear the end of this if she didn't get there on time. Finally, after what seemed like eternity, the bus arrived at the bus stop. Hinata shoved her way through the crowd saying an, "Excuse me," and a, "I'm sorry," every chance she got until she was off bus. She wasted no time and sprinted as fast as her legs could go to her job down the street, ignoring the weird looks she was receiving. She practically fell to her feet in exhaustion when she bursted open the doors of the cafe, breathing heavily, scaring a few of customers. Her eyes instantly shot up to the clock hanging on the wall across from her and she couldn't stop a relieved grin from spreading across her face. She had done it. With 1 minute to spare, she finally made it to her cozy little job at the Sweet Delights Cafe. She tied her hair up into a ponytail and was about to make her way to the back counter to get her apron when someone in the corner of her eye caught her attention. "Well, look who finally showed up. Ya had me worried for minute there, Tebeo. The one and only. Thank God you're here, Hinata. This place would be a wreck if I was left alone with it," he said, giving her his trademark grin. She let out an uncomfortable laugh as she nervously played with the end of her ponytail. "Why yeah, just in tea time." He and Hinata had gone to high school together and used to be pretty good friends. Along with their large circle of friends, they used to hang out with all the time until junior year of high school. Hinata had fallen hard for the blonde and one day, with the help of her girlfriends, summoned all her courage and told him that she liked him. Flashback. His reaction was not what Hinata had expected. At first he didn't say anything, he just stood there and he looked at her for a long time in shock. She got worried and was about to ask if he was alright, but suddenly began nod his head, as if he finally understood what she said, and smiled warmly at her. "Thanks Nata, I really appreciate that," he said slowly and appeared somewhat uncomfortable. "I don't know why you're saying that so randomly like that, but okay. I like you too, in fact you're one of my best friends in the world," he said, laughing. Hinata tilted her head in confusion. What was he talking about? And why was he laughing? For a second there, I thought you were trying to say that you liked me, like you wanted me to be your boyfriend or something. Oh man, that would have been so weird, you really scared me. He lightly patted her back as he continued to laugh. So that was the big thing you wanted to tell me. And here I thought it was something important. Don't do that to me, Hinata. Hinata's eyes became as big as saucers and she finally pieced together why he was laughing. A cold sinking feeling overtook her body. Him ever liking her was just a joke, right? Her heart was broken into a million pieces that day. She thought she at least had a chance after he got over his crush on Sakura, but no matter what she did he still could not see her as anything but a friend. "Haha, yep, that was it. Fooled ya, I bet you were super nervous, huh?" she said, laughing painfully. "I just remembered I needed to talk to Kiba about something. I gotta go." She did even give him a chance to respond before she ran off towards the school. But she didn't stop there, she ran and ran and ran until she couldn't anymore. She curled up on one of the benches outside the gates where she couldn't be seen and let all her emotions out. After that nightmare, she tried her hardest to pretend like nothing happened and get over him, but she couldn't. It hurt her too deeply and she loved him too deeply. So she chose the cowardly way, to run and hide. She told no one what happened between her and Naruto. She distanced herself from her circle of friends and him, making up excuses like she was busy with school work. And when things became too difficult, she listened to her father's wishes and went to study overseas for a few years. When she returned to Konoha, she decided to have a fresh start, so she moved out of her father's place and into her own, made sure to go to a different colleges from everyone and found a job on the other side of town. She thought she was finally beginning new life and she could forget her past, but when she found out Sakura Haruno would be working at the same job she was currently working at, that all vanished. Of course Sakura was enraged when she saw her and bombarded her with questions. Hinata tried to remain quiet but eventually broke and answered all of them. And once Sakura understood the circumstances, she forgave Hinata and they picked up right where they left off in their friendship. Life was good, and just when she thought she was moving on, he came back into her life. Out of nowhere he suddenly came in the store one day asking for a job. Hinata was terrified and prayed that he wouldn't get it, but with his charming demeanor who could say no, and just like that he had the job. Thank the great heavens above that their schedules were different so they rarely saw each other. But each time they did, it was always nerve-wracking for her. She feared that he would question her or yell at her for cutting him out of her life all those years ago, but he didn't. He acted like nothing happened and remained himself. Which was a relief but also kinda pissed her off at the same. He not care about her at all. Was their friendship really nothing? Her thoughts were interrupted when she heard someone call her attention. Excuse me, madam. Hinata looked down to see that she was overfilling the customer's coffee cup. Oh my god, I am so sorry, sir. She nearly shrieked as she quickly grabbed some napkins out of her apron pocket and started wiping down the table. The coffee was everywhere, some even managed to get on her clothes despite having an apron on, ruining her new beige sweater dress and white leggings. She then declared in her head this was probably one of the worst days she has had in a long time. Suddenly she felt large warm hands gently place themselves on top of hers and looked up to see Naruto look at her with a warm smile. I'll take care of this, you clean yourself up, okay? He said, lifting her hands away from the soggy napkins. Yes, thank you, she said, looking down, avoiding eye contact and trying not to blush. She could have sworn she saw him frown as she looked down, but when she went to double check, he was cleaning the table. It must have been her imagination. Man, did she need some sleep. It was almost closing time, there was no one left in the shop except for her and Naruto. Great. Now things were really awkward. Hinata tried desperately to count the money in the register as quickly as she could so she could leave. What made it worse is that she could feel Naruto's eyes piercing into the back of her skull like knives, like he wanted to say something to her but couldn't. She had enough. If he wasn't going to say anything by himself, she would make him. She turned around Ed in her breath and said, Is there something wrong? And Naruto-kun, wow, really threatening Hinata. But she guessed it worked because he looked thrown off guard. Sorry, I didn't mean to stare, he said, scratching the back of his neck. I wanted to ask if you were okay, you seem out of it, did something happen? She looked down, still avoiding his gaze. What happened is what she wanted to say, but she lied instead and said, no, everything's fine, but Naruto saw right through her. Don't lie to me, you were never good at doing that, he said, almost laughing. He walked closer to her and placed a hand on her shoulder, causing her to look up at him. Come on, I don't bite, tell me what's up, Tebeo. Hinata gave him a small smile. I'm fine, I've been just studying too hard and kinda stressed myself out, which was true but not the whole truth. Naruto stared at her while squinting his eyes and rubbed his chin as if trying to read her mind. She nearly bursted out laughing but held her cool. Okay, I believe you. You should try laying off the books and relax once in a while, he said, and then all of a sudden he lit up with excitement. Oh, I have an idea, you come over my place after work, he said, nearly jumping. Me and our old classmates are hanging out at my apartment tonight. You should come too, it will be fun. Hinata didn't know what to do. It's been a long time since she has spoken to anyone from their old circle of friends besides Sakura. Would this be okay? What if they all hated her now? And didn't want to see her again? After all, no one made much of an effort to contact her. I don't know if that's a good id. Oh come on Hinata, lighten up would ya? Forget it, you no longer have a choice, you're coming Hinata, that's final, he said, cutting her off before she could finish. And would ya look at that, it's 9 o'clock, closing time, so we can leave now, he said, smiling brightly at her. Damn it. Just her luck. I'll get the lights and keys, so wait for me, Kay, he yelled as he ran towards the back room. Hinata was weighing her options here. She could easily grab her coat and make a mad dash towards the door, but then she would look like a bad person. Oh, she could lie and say she got a text from her sister and there was an emergency. But that's a little sketchy. Or she could just then. Naruto came running back holding the keys to the store in his hand. The loud clanking of their shoes echoed through the streets of the city night as Naruto practically dragged Hinata to his apartment. He had been wanting to speak to Hinata for the longest. There was so many questions running through his mind. Why did she distance herself from their group? Why didn't she stay in contact with anyone? Why did she leave everyone? Why did she leave him? Naruto had been trying to figure out the answer for years. He searched for her. The last he heard, she'd left the country for a year to study overseas, which saddened him, but he waited for her return. When he heard she returned, he went to her house only to find out that she moved out. Even her cousin Neji wasn't too sure where she went, and of course the rest of her family flat out refused to tell him. It was like she didn't want to be found, like she was hiding from him. He was considering giving up till one day Sakura called him on the phone asking him to come check out the new cafe she was working at. At first he flatly refused. The cafe was on the other side of town and he did not feel like traveling such a distance. But when Sakura said, "There's something here you've been searching for almost 3 years," he knew right away what she was talking about. He hung up on her, dashed out the door of his apartment, jumped into his car and sped down the streets to the cafe. He didn't care about the 2 red lights he ran, or the honking of the horns from the other drivers. All that mattered to him in that moment was the possibility of seeing her again. He'd been waiting for too long and was not going to pass up the opportunity. He parked his car awkwardly in the driveway next to the cafe and ran in. The customers in the cafe all turned around to look at him. Breathing heavily, his eyes scanned the shop looking for its target. And then he saw her. She was like something out of a fairy tale to him. Her silky hair had grown longer, going past her shoulders to her waist in a ponytail. Her flawless cream-colored skin seemed to sparkle as she slowly turned to him. Her face had somehow gotten more beautiful. Her long, delicate eyelashes flew up and her plum pink lips opened slightly in shock as she realized who he was. Naruto shook his head, clearing his mind of the weird thoughts he was having about his friend. Naruto waited no time and started to march towards her, but stopped when he saw the look of horror on her face. Was she scared of him? No, that couldn't be the reason. They were friends for years, but then what was the reason for the look she gave him? Was questioning her immediately a bad thing? Was that why she was scared? Naruto stared into her eyes, trying to look for an answer. His hands tightened into fists and he took a deep breath. He made a decision, and a hard one at that. He decided it was best to not ask her any questions and he would wait for her to tell him. After all, she probably did have a good reason for doing this. So instead he stormed past her and went straight to the manager. "Hello, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. Are you guys hiring?" he said, smiling brightly at the blushing female manager. Naruto swung the door of his apartment open with a bang. "We're here, welcome to paradise," he said jokingly. He turned around to face Hinata, who looked like she turned into stone. She couldn't believe what was going on right now. Here she was trying to avoid this guy and now she's at his apartment and wait alone with him. And Naruto or the others still see coming," she said, still refusing to make eye contact. Naruto looked at her sadly. Was it really that terrible to be alone with him? Yep, they'll be here any minute now, so until then let's just relax, okay? And with that he took both her hands and led her inside. The apartment was a lot cleaner than Hinata remembered. He used to just throw his clothes all over the floor and there was usually ramen cups everywhere. Now everything seemed somewhat neat. Do you want anything, Hinata? It's pretty cold outside. I have some instant ramen that should warm you up, he yelled from the kitchen. No thank you. Hinata couldn't do this anymore. She wasn't ready to make things normal with him again. She needed some more time away from him. Every time she looked at him, still after all these years, pain scraped at her heart. And if that wasn't enough, she sure as hell was not ready to see her old friends. Naruto-kun, I'm really sorry B, but I can't stay. I have a big test to study for I have to go, she said as she stood up from his couch. Wait a sec, Hinata, he said, walking towards her. He was finally getting a chance to talk to her. He couldn't let her leave now. But Hinata was already quickly heading towards the door. Thanks for inviting me. Hinata reached for the knob of the door but was stopped when Naruto wrapped his arm around her waist and grabbed her hand. He then spun her around and made her face him. Why do you keep running away from me? He almost whispered. This time Hinata looked into his eyes. He looked so sad, like she just ripped his heart out. A deep sickening feeling took over her. Was she being too hard on him? He was just trying to be nice and relieve her stress. It wasn't entirely his fault. He didn't know he hurt her. He didn't know she loved him like that. Was she the one who was being selfish this entire time? Hinata began to shake. Guilt began to seep into her conscience like poison. I'm sorry, she said as tears started forming in her eyes. That was the only thing she could think to say. She was so confused she couldn't find a way to deal with all the emotions building up inside her. She felt defeated. Naruto was shocked. Were those tears in her eyes? Did he do that? He hadn't meant to make her cry, he just wanted her to stay. He lost it. He wrapped his arms around her and embraced her tightly. Please don't cry, Hinata. He buried his face into her shoulder and tightened his grip around her waist. I just want to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a while and I missed you. He closed his eyes and clenched his teeth. Please stay. Hinata had no idea what to do in that moment. A part of her wanted to push him off and another wanted to hug him so tightly and never let go. Her arms shakily left her sides and started to inch towards his back. Just then the door bursted open and slammed against the wall. Yo Naruto, we're here and we brought F. The brown-haired male stood shocked and speechless in his friend's doorway. Whoa. Naruto, who's the girl? She's pretty hot. Naruto quickly released Hinata and stumbled backward with his arms raised. Kiba, you should at least freaking knock before you bust into someone's home. Naruto yelled, a light blush staining his cheeks. Now, there's no need to be embarrassed, buddy, especially when you were messing around with a smoke bomb like this chick. But you should have warned us that we might be walking in on. Kiba stopped talking and stared at the still turned around Hinata. Wait a second, you look really familiar. Have we met before, sweetheart? Hinata's body tensed up immediately. Well, here it was, the big reveal. Now it was time to face her fears and do the thing she was dreading to do for years. Hinata slowly spun around on her heels to face him. It's nice to see you again, Kiba-kun, she said, looking down at her boots. Kiba's eyes widened in shock and a bit of horror. It was as if there was a ghost standing in front of him. Hi. He couldn't get his words out, his emotions had him tongue-tied. He suddenly pointed his finger at her and finally yelled out, Hinata. His voice echoed throughout the apartment. Apparently he wasn't the only one shocked because he felt his friends behind him pushing him forward to get a better look. Move the hell out of the way, Kiba, yelled the blonde girl, shoving past him. Soon her eyes opened in shock as well. I can't believe it really is you, she said, staring at Hinata. They were all there, every single last one of them. Kiba, Shino, Ino, Sakura, Shikamaru, Tenten, Neji, Lee, Choji, even Sasuke and Sai were there. They were all looking at her. Hinata started trembling. What would happen now? Were they going to yell at her? Tell her they hated her? Throw her out? Hinata's head dropped and she squeezed her eyes shut. I am. Those were the only things that came out of her mouth before she heard footsteps approach her quickly. She glanced up to see it was Tenten and that she was standing in front of her. She inhaled sharply before she said coldly, "Raise your head." Hinata did it almost automatically. She looked into Tenten's eyes. They looked dead, like the life was edged straight out of them as soon as she looked at her. Hinata knew the reason. After all, she was one of Tenten's best friends. It all happened so quickly that Hinata couldn't register what exactly happened at first. Hinata raised her hand to her now stinging cheek. Well, what did she expect? She did have a reason to slap her. She did abandon her. Tenten, what the hell are you doing? Naruto yelled as he started to storm over to her, but Sakura was quicker and stopped him. It's okay, just watch, she whispered to him while restraining him. That's for leaving without telling us and cutting us out of your life. Tenten practically screamed at Hinata. Then Tenten did something Hinata didn't expect. She grabbed Hinata and hugged her super snugly. And this is for forgiveness because we had no idea what you were going through and we were bad friends for not trying to find out, she said, patting her back. Hinata, for the second time since she entered this apartment, was confused. They forgave her after all the pain she must have caused. Hinata looked around at all of them. Some of them smiled at her, others nodded as if to confirm what Tenten had said. How could they do that? No, she didn't deserve it. She didn't deserve friends like them. Hinata released all the sorrow and anxiety built up inside her and cried into Tenten's arms. I am sorry guys, really thank you, she squeaked as tears rained down her face. Her friends crowded around her, patting her and saying reassuring things to her while she cried into Tenten's arms. The rest of the night was filled with joy and laughter. They all were sitting on the couch and floor in front of Naruto's TV. They ordered pizza and broke into interesting conversations. They tried to catch Hinata up on their lives. Ino took over her mother's flower shop and got over her crush on Sasuke. Choji got a job as a sous chef at his favorite barbecue restaurant. Some of Sai's work got featured in museums across the country and he was well on his way to becoming a professional artist. Tenten, Neji and Lee worked part-time at their old high school demonstrating martial arts to the students and did it professionally on the side. Shikamaru was top in all his classes at his university. Shino was studying entomology. Kiba was still doing sports alongside his dog Akamaru. Sasuke had resolved his family issues and was opening up a bit more. Sakura was of course working at the cafe shop with her and studying to become a doctor. And finally Naruto was working at the cafe of course and sometimes at his favorite ramen shop and still working on creating his business and trying to practically rule Konoha. Things were going great except Hinata still felt a little uneasy. What did Tenten mean when she said they had no idea what she was going through? Did they know why she started avoiding them? Did that mean Naruto knew also? Did that mean he felt the Hinata mentally slapped herself? Of course he didn't know. This was getting ridiculous. She shouldn't be caring anyway. She was supposed to be getting over him. Hinata gripped the end of her sleeve in frustration. From now on her and Naruto would remain friends just like they were supposed to be. She took a big bite out of her pizza, clearing her head of any negative thoughts. Whoa, this stuff goes right through ya. Phew. I'll be right back, Naruto said as he leapt from the couch. All the girls and some of the guys cringed as he ran towards the bathroom. That's so disgusting, Sakura said as she scrunched up her face. Yeah, it is. I say we lock him in there, Shikamaru murmured sitting up on the couch. Hell yeah, can you imagine what it's going to be like when he comes out? I'm in. Who's else is in? Kiba said, jumping up from his position on the floor. Sasuke, Shikamaru, Lee, and Neji all raised their hands and all started grabbing chairs to stack outside the bathroom. Everyone else bursted out in a fit of laughter. Oh man, Hinata, I can't believe you used to like that guy, Tenten said, wiping a tear from her eye. Yeah, he's a great friend, but sometimes Naruto can be a giant goofball, Sakura said, stifling another laugh. Exactly, Ino said, still laughing. I mean, how does someone not get it when someone tells them they love them? Ino said, giggling. Sakura sent Ino a death glare as Ino threw her hands over her mouth. Wait, what do you how do you know what happened after I confessed? Hinata didn't tell anyone what happened after she confessed. She was too embarrassed, she only told Sakura. Hinata looked at Sakura with betrayal. Okay, fine Hinata, I told them I'm sorry, she said, putting her hand on her shoulder. Everyone. Hinata stuttered, trying her hardest not to cry. Yes, she did well except for Naruto, Neji said, coming back with the guys. He took a seat next to Hinata and put his hand on her hand in comforting manner. I think we deserve to know the reason why you left, especially me. We are family, are we not? Hinata refused to look at anyone and looked at her lap. Even your father refused to tell me where you had left to your sister, and I was very worried. Shino kneeled down in front of Hinata. I also think that if you had been the one to tell us, some of our reactions would not be as calm as they were today. He's right Hinata, I knew you were nervous to tell them, so I did it for you. I swear I wasn't doing it to hurt you, Sakura pleaded. Hinata gave her a small smile. It's okay, seriously, I understand. She knew Sakura wouldn't have done anything if she didn't think it was for the best. She just kinda wished she would have talked to her first. Well, at least she didn't tell Naruto. That would have been a nightmare. Just then there was loud banging sounds coming from the bathroom. Hey guys, this isn't funny, open the damn door. Naruto yelled from the bathroom. Once again the room was filled with laughter. Not till you air out whatever the hell you just did in there, Dobi, Sasuke said, rolling his eyes. Yeah, you'll ruin my appetite with that smell, Choji said, placing his arms protectively over the pizza boxes. Haha, real funny Choji, but we all know it would take a lot more to ruin your appetite. Now just open the door, you jackasses. Laughter grew louder after his comment. Naruto, I would advise you open a window before you drain the great power of youth out of us, Lee yelled while rolling around on the floor laughing. Come on guys, let him out, this is mean, Hinata said, recovering from her own laughter and standing up looking at everyone. Well Hinata, if you want him out so badly, you open the door, Tenten said, playfully poking at Hinata's sides. I don't know why you would, I mean the guy kinda deserves it after what he put you through, Ino said, looking at her nails. Okay, Ino did have a point, he did sort of deserve it, but all feelings aside, Naruto was a good person and nice to everyone, even if he was sort of a blockhead. And that blockhead did not deserve to suffocate to death by his own, well, gas. Hinata puffed her cheeks out in annoyance and started walking towards the bathroom. Hinata, what are you doing? Sakura asked in fear as she watched Hinata pull the chairs away from the door. Wait, no Hinata, are you crazy? Don't do it, you will us all, Kiba said, running towards the bathroom to stop her. But it was too late, the door flung open and it was released. Gagging, groans and coughs replaced the laughter in the room. Kiba was hit the worst since he was right in front of the door. Luckily Hinata held her breath, but that didn't stop her eyes from watering. Everyone ran towards the window to seek relief except Naruto, who stood there utterly confused. Ah, come on guys, it's not that bad, he said, scratching the back of his neck. Death glares from all across the room burrowed into his skull like lasers. He didn't even have time to react as several people tackled him to the ground. Hinata couldn't help but laugh as her friends attacked Naruto. It was good to be back with them again. It was almost 12, and if any one of them wanted to wake up on time tomorrow, they would have to go. One by one everyone left Naruto's apartment, leaving Naruto and Hinata alone. Well, this was fun Naruto-kun, I guess I'll be going, Hinata said, walking out the door. Wait, let me walk you, it's not safe. I would drive you but my car's getting fixed right now, he said, placing a hand on her shoulder. Hinata wanted to say no, but he was right and she was scared to walk alone, besides he would still walk her even if she refused. Oh okay, sure, and then they were off into the night. The walk was pretty quiet most of the way there. Only until Naruto noticed Hinata shivering did they speak. Where's your jacket? He asked, making her stop walking. She gave him an uncomfortable smile. I left it at the shop, she mumbled. What, I didn't hear you? He said, putting a hand to his ear playfully and leaning towards her. Hinata pouted. She opened her mouth a bit wider. I left it at the shop, she said louder, her eyes drifting to the side. That's better. Why are you speaking so low? I thought you got over that years ago, he said, rubbing his chin and looking at her. She didn't want to tell him that she was uncomfortable around him. She stammered. And that's stuttering too, he said, pretending to be mad. He playfully poked her forehead. I will let it go for now, but remember, you can be yourself around me. Hinata lifted her hand and placed it where he poked it. Man, was he making this recovery process hard for her. Naruto all of a sudden took off his orange hoodie and draped it over her shoulders. There, that should keep you warm, he said as he zipped up the jacket. No please Naruto-kun, I see. She was cut off by a finger on her lips. It's fine, just trust me. Hinata blushed and shifted in the jacket, enjoying its warmth. In that moment Naruto couldn't help but find her incredibly cute. They continued walking, making small talk, and Hinata was finally starting to feel comfortable with Naruto again. Of course she was cautious as well, she wasn't going to let herself fall in love with him again. She wiped the slate and she was starting all over. It's right there. Hinata pointed to the large yellow building. The annoying bleeping of an alarm clock shook the tiny bedroom. Naruto turned on his side with a groan before grabbing his blankets and pulling them over his head. But that did nothing to stop the loud beeping noise drumming in his ears. Finally, with a deep sigh, he gave in and quickly slammed his hand down on the alarm, shutting it off. He was exhausted from the previous night filled with partying, drinking, and girls. Yes, being young and single was great, no extra baggage, parties beyond end, and with his looks he could practically have any girl he wanted. But it wasn't all wonderful, he couldn't help but feel lonely at times. His parents died when he was younger, so every day he'd come home to a dark, empty apartment with no one waiting for him. Sure, he had his friends, but Naruto always wondered what it would be like to share his life with someone, to be in love. It wasn't like he didn't try, he had several girlfriends in the past. But for some reason they never worked out. They never understood him, or he could never understand them. From the gold diggers and mega bitches, to the cheaters and self-absorbed psychos, Naruto had practically dated them all. And the breakups, oh, they were horrible. The screaming and crying him, he had to replace his TV 5 times and even had to change the locks a few times. The depression that followed was way worse, so Naruto decided to take a break from dating for a while. How hard was it to find a cute girl with air personality? That's all he asked for. Was that too much? In fact, forget the cute part, someone who will just love him for him. Naruto crawled out of his bed with a yawn, stopping himself from dwelling on negative thoughts. He shut his curtains to stop the warm sun from blinding him and ventured off to the bathroom. He silently hoped it would be a good day. Naruto quickly opened the door and stepped out into the cool fall air. It was time for another boring day at the university, and since his car was in the shop he had to take the train. It wasn't his fault he wrecked his car, the day went like any other. He was driving to school along with his best friend Sasuke, and they got into one of their usual arguments. It was about Sakura. Sasuke knew Sakura had a thing for him for years, yet he still refused to make their relationship official. Even though it was clear that the usually cold Sasuke had warmed up to her. Naruto had it. He didn't care if he had to grab him by his stupid emo-looking hair and drag him to her house. He was going to make sure they got their relationship figured out, and that's exactly what he did. He picked Sasuke up earlier than usual, explaining to him that he had a project he had to do, so he had to go to school earlier. Unfortunately, Sasuke caught on quickly when he noticed the route they were taking and ordered him to turn the car around. He refused and they broke out into a fight about relationships and happiness. What are you afraid of, man? Here's a great girl who's practically pouring her heart and soul out to you, and you're telling me you're just gonna leave things alone? Naruto yelled, turning to his friend. Hey Dobi. Don't you dare Dobi me, you hot. Naruto said, pointing his finger in his friend's face. Watch out, Sasuke said, grabbing the steering wheel and turning it. And boom, just like that, Naruto's beautiful black Mustang with orange flames on the sides was wrecked. Luckily no one was hurt, the car ran off the road into a nearby tree. But it took practically all Naruto's savings to get it fixed. Now here he was squashed on the train between a few sweaty old men and an overweight woman eating something that looked and smelled like something that crawled out of the pits of hell. Sasuke's lucky was getting rides from Sakura now, so in some ways his plan kinda worked. He decided it was for the best that he didn't tag along, it would help the two get closer, it was the least he could do. But why oh why did being a good friend have such horrible prices like this? Naruto tried to wiggle himself out of the old smelly sandwich he was stuck in to only bump into someone. His nose immediately filled with the sweet and calming scent of lavender and vanilla. Naruto knew instantly who it was and he felt a smile begin to creep on his face. He bent down so he could reach the ears of his victim. "Why hello there, stranger," he whispered seductively, causing the person to jump with an eep. They then spun around to look at him in a defensive stance. Naruto couldn't hold it in anymore and started laughing loud. Naruto-kun. Hinata almost yelled. "Haha, oh my god, why you should have seen your face," he said between breaths and laughter. "And what's W with that stance, are you some kinda ninja or something, aha?" Hinata's face turned bright red, she pulled her lavender scarf up and tried to hide her embarrassed blush. However, Naruto noticed. Hey, it was just a joke, don't be embarrassed." Hinata started to pout and Naruto prepared himself to get hit when he saw her raise her arms. To his surprise, Hinata put both her hands at the sides of her face and stuck her tongue out at him. Naruto's stomach dropped and he was filled with overwhelming happiness. He had missed this Hinata, the one who understood his jokes, the one who smiled gently at him when he did something stupid, the one who he could talk to about anything. It was like she was beginning to be the person he knew again and they were taking the first steps in repairing their relationship. I wasn't embarrassed," she said, looking away, holding back her smile. "Yeah right," he said, laughing again, and this time she joined him. Her laugh was light and gentle like bells. Naruto couldn't help but stare at her, it had been so long since he heard her laugh. Her head tilted to the ground slightly. Her smile peeked through her fingers as she tried to conceal it, her cheeks stained pink and tiny tears lay in the corner of her eyes. Naruto smiled, thinking about how cute she looked laughing like that. Naruto felt his chest flutter, but he couldn't figure out why. In fact, this wasn't the first time he felt weird around Hinata. Back in high school he sometimes felt the urge to hug her and well do other things, but he banished those thoughts. She was one of his best friends after all, and to think about her that way was just strange. Now that he thought about it, he really did value Hinata and his friendship. That's why he was so heartbroken when she left him, right? "So where are you going, hum?" Hinata stopped laughing and looked at him. "Oh, the university," she said. Naruto looked at the ID that hung around her neck closely. "Hidden Leaf University. You go to that ritzy ditzy private school," he said, looking at her confused. "Ah yes, why?" Naruto's eyes drifted to the ground. "No reason, I was just hoping that." "Look, Hinata." He put his hands on her shoulders and looked deeply into her eyes seriously. What is it?" She was feeling a bit uncomfortable with him being so close to her face. "You should stop going to that boring school and transfer to Konoha University," he said, slightly shaking her. What, why?" Now it was her turn to be confused. I mean, everyone kinda misses you and it would be kinda cool if everyone was going to the same school again." Hinata didn't say anything, she just blinked. She did miss her friends, but transferring, was that okay? "And if you're worried about your classes, our school has those fancy smart people classes and plenty of activities, just ask Shikamaru." Konoha University was a great school and she didn't think her father would mind. After all, Neji went there and the only reason she didn't go there was because of the drama that went on. "Oh, I don't know about that. I mean transferring out of the blue like that, isn't it a bit sudden?" Hinata forced herself to look up at him. They were so close, Hinata could feel his breath tickling her cheeks. If only there was some room on the bus, she would have backed away from him. Her face was heating up. Naruto thought about it for a bit and came to a conclusion that she was probably right. Then again, she was always right. Hinata was really smart and thought things through, unlike him. He sighed. I guess you're right, but at least think about it, okay? Hinata nodded and Naruto released his grip on her. Hinata couldn't figure out why he was so interested in making her a part of everything. He couldn't have missed her that much. Sure, they were like best friends, but he had Sasuke. Maybe he was just trying to be a good friend. Naruto-kun. Hinata decided it was her turn to make an effort on her part. Enough of this awkwardness. Yeah, what's up? Naruto turned, looking at her with curiosity. Would you maybe want tea too? Hinata was struggling so hard to get her words out, her face was changing shades. Japanese. Hinata. Japanese. Naruto said, hoping to snap her out of her stuttering frenzy. Would you like a to hangout after work today? She squeaked out quickly. Hinata wasn't sure he understood what she said because he just stood there saying nothing. Maybe she asked too soon. After all, they just started talking again. I mean, we don't have to if you're busy, or we can bring our friends too. Hinata looked down at her brown boots. She was afraid to look at his face. No, that's perfect, Hinata, that would be awesome. Tte Bayo. Naruto yelled a bit too loudly. Then he grabbed and forced her into a bear hug. The embarrassment Hinata felt before was nothing compared to the way she felt now. Loud claps and cheers filled the train. All eyes were on them, and Hinata thought she would die right there. You go, girl, yelled one girl. Kiss her, yelled one man. If Naruto's arms weren't strangling Hinata in place, she would have melted away. Well, I gotta go, Hinata, this is my stop. I'll see ya later. Naruto waved to the still embarrassed Hinata as he hopped of the train. Hinata smiled slightly and waved to him. She turned around to a crowd of people with creepy smiles spread across their faces, and the rest of train ride she was bombarded with questions from her fellow passengers. Naruto felt like he was walking on air. He couldn't wait to tell his friends about hanging out with Hinata after work. He walked down the street to his school whistling the happiest tune he could think of. He stopped when he saw a very familiar duo exiting a white car. Sasuke. Sakura. He yelled while waving his arms frantically in the air. Maybe if we pretend we didn't hear him, he will go away, Sakura whispered to Sasuke. Nah, I say we make a run for it, he whispered back to her. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Go. The duo broke out into a wild sprint towards the school. Hey, you guys, stop, he yelled as he tried catching up to his friends. Okay, if that's how you wanna play, fine, but let's not forget who the captain of the soccer team was for 2 years in high school. Naruto then picked up his pace and was quickly catching up to them. Oh shit, he's catching up. Sakura yelled. Split up, Sasuke yelled back. And just like that, the duo separated. Naruto knew Sakura was much easier to catch, so he let her go and went straight after the harder catch Sasuke. He was right on his tail, and with one final reach he was able to tackle him to the ground. Why did you guys run? I just wanted to talk, Naruto said, getting up from the ground. That's exactly why we ran. You had that stupid look on your face, and frankly I'm not interested in another Dobby storytelling session, Sasuke said, rolling his eyes and dusting the dirt off his pants. Well, too bad, now shut up and listen. Naruto's attention turned to the tree behind him. You too, Sakura. I see you, get over here. Sakura slowly slid out from behind the tree and walked towards them. Okay, just get it over with, I have classes to get to, she said, crossing her arms. Naruto took a deep breath and started rambling on about his train ride in Hinata. And then she said we should hang out after work, can you believe it? It's like high school all over again, this is going to be great. Tabayo. Naruto collapsed on the ground again with a loud sigh. I haven't seen him like this in a while, man, I gotta hand it to Hinata, Sasuke said, looking at Sakura. Yeah, if I didn't know any better I would think he was going on a date or something, Sakura said, giggling. Naruto shot up from the ground like a bullet. Date? What? No, it's not like that, it's just two adults going out and enjoying themselves. Naruto felt his face heat up. Must be the sun. More like an adult and a child, Sasuke murmured. What was that, Tem? Naruto growled. Settle down, boys. Now Naruto, where are you going on this non-date? Sakura questioned. Naruto didn't say anything for long period of time. Well, you see. Oh my god, he doesn't know. Sasuke placed his hand on his face and shook his head. Naruto sent a fist flying towards him, but he easily dodged it. That's not true, we just didn't talk about it. He couldn't believe he forgot to talk about it with her. Well, you might wanna figure that out, it's kinda important, Sakura said, turning around. Well, good luck on your non-date, she said just as the bell rang. Try not to make a fool out yourself for like 5 seconds, okay Dobi, Sasuke said as he followed Sakura up the stairs. Naruto gave him a not so nice hand gesture before walking to his class. He didn't care what they said, this was going to be the best non-date ever. Hinata was a nervous wreck, she still couldn't believe she asked Naruto to hang out with her after work. What was she thinking? She couldn't handle hanging out with him alone again. Maybe she could ask one of the girls to tag along. No, they would say no, plus she needed to woman up and do this. It would be her first step in recovery, and to be honest, she kinda missed hanging out with him as well. Hinata stopped walking around the library. She made up her mind she was going to do this no matter what, nothing was going to stop her. What are you doing, Miss Hinata? For the second time today, Hinata jumped in fear. Oh hello Tonari, you scared me. Hinata turned to her snow white-haired friend. I apologize, that was not my intention, are you alright? He asked, concerned. Tonari was always nice to Hinata. She could remember when she first came to Hidden Leaf University and she knew no one. But then she met Tonari and he showed her around and helped her make friends. Yes, I am alright, I was just thinking, so what brings you here? Tonari circled around the couch and sat next to her. I was passing by when I noticed you were still here at the library, so I thought I should give you some company. Why, that's very sweet of you, but I actually have to go now, it's time for work, she said, smiling as she got up from the couch. I guess I will be seeing you, and with that Hinata started to leave. All of a sudden she felt someone grab her wrist tightly. Wait, Tonari almost shouted. Hinata felt her stomach drop. Yes? She questioned. You forgot your bag, he said, smiling at her again. Hinata took the bag from him and bowed before sprinting off to catch her bus. She stared out window of the bus in deep thought. Tonari was very sweet, but whenever she was around him she got a weird feeling. Hinata rubbed her slightly red wrist. It hurt. Naruto tried to focus on the loud customers and hundreds of orders being thrown at him, but he couldn't. He couldn't wait for Hinata to burst through those doors, so they could talk about their plans, and he knew exactly where they would be going. Almost as if she heard him, Hinata came running into the shop and grabbed her apron. Hinata! Naruto yelled, nearly causing the customer he was serving to go deaf. But he didn't care, he sprinted over to Hinata overjoyed. Hello Naruto-kun, she said after mouthing an apology to the customer he was serving. Okay, I know this is probably bad timing, but I know the perfect place for us to go after work. Just then the manager came running out from the back room, cutting him off. What are you two doing? We have a ton of customers waiting for you, she yelled with her hand placed on her hip. Naruto then turned around dramatically. I'm so sorry, Miss Manager, I was just telling Hinata how beautiful you look in your new sweater and how your eyes look like the ocean sparkling in the sunlight. I just couldn't help myself. Naruto then winked at her. The manager face turned tomato red. Well, okay, but you guys hurry up, there are customers waiting, she then shyly walked away. And that Hina is how you get out of trouble. I guess we will talk later, he whispered as he walked away. Hinata tried her hardest not to laugh and got to work. The rest of the work day was filled with laughter and peace. Ever since Naruto started working at the cafe, he really brightened it up. He was funny, quirky, and somehow had the power to make anyone smile. Seriously. Hinata saw customers in the worst moods ever, but somehow he was able to make them smile. He was like the sun, truly. Hinata had to admit she was really starting to enjoy working with him regularly. Hinata glanced up at the clock that hung in front of the front door. It was 7:50. Closing time was in 10 minutes and Hinata was a bit excited surprisingly. She was interested in seeing just where Naruto had planned on taking her. Just hanging out, Hinata repeated in her head. She was also afraid of having too much fun and letting herself fall for him again. She knew she had to be strong and erase any previous affection she had for him before and look at him as a friend, but as much as she tried she couldn't help but feel like she wanted more. Hey Hinata. Hinata snapped out of her daydream and turned to Naruto. Are you ready? I just have to lock up. Hinata shook her head. Oh why yeah I was just lost in thought, she said smiling awkwardly at him. Naruto sighed. Typical Hinata always daydreaming, he joked. Well I'll go take care of those pesky locks and then it's you and me. Smiling he walked back towards the doors. Yep just you and me, Hinata murmured nervously before slipping into her beige coat. After putting on her lavender scarf and gloves Hinata waited quietly by the front door for Naruto. Alright everything is all set. After you, Naruto said opening the door for Hinata. And with that the two were out the door and on their way to their non-date. So where are we going exactly? Hinata looked at Naruto who was grinning. Naruto put a finger to his lips. It's a secret. And now it's a secret. You were going to tell me earlier. Yeah I was. But I think it's more exciting this way, Naruto laughed. Hinata pouted. Tell me, she looked up at him with puppy dog eyes. Cute but it's not gonna work on me, Naruto patted her head and continued to walk. His words caused Hinata's cheeks to redden. I promise I'm not taking you to some weird place, you'll love it trust me. Hinata looked at the ground and didn't say anything. Hinata. Okay I trust you, she sighed in defeat. Naruto smirked. Good, that wasn't so hard, now stick close to me we're getting to a crowded part of town I wouldn't want you getting lost. Hinata quickened her pace to catch up to him. Hinata hadn't been to this side of town in ages. There were shops at every corner, lights filled the streets and there was tons of people. But there was something about the specific path they were going, it just felt familiar. Oh how she desperately wanted to know. Okay milady I'm gonna need you to close your eyes for a bit. See close my eyes. There were so many people and cars she was bound to bump into something. Don't worry I'll guide you. Naruto extended his hand to her. Just trust me. Hinata hesitated for a moment but obliged. She reached out blindly and placed her gloved hand in his. All the nerves she felt before instantly melted away. Alright let's go. A small smile began to creep onto her face as she felt him pull her through the streets. She didn't know why but with Naruto by her side she felt like nothing bad could ever happen to her. Okay open your eyes in 3, 2, 1, Hinata opened her eyes slowly. There in front of her stood Ichiraku's ramen shop. No you didn't. Hinata said shocked. Oh but I did. Naruto took her hand and led her inside. Flashbacks of the past filled her head. Naruto and her used to go here all the time in high school. They used to have so much fun, laughing and having competitions on who could eat the most ramen. She would somehow always win and the loser always had to pay for it in the end. Ah just like old times huh? Hinata nodded before running over to her favorite stool in front of the kitchen. She loved that spot because she was able to watch the food while it was cooking. Look the stool is still chipped from when I fell off it that one time, Naruto said pointing to the leg of the stool which had a piece of wood missing. I remember there was ramen everywhere and then we had to clean it up. And then I fell trying to clean it up, Hinata reminisced. The two busted out laughing at their humorous memory. Hello how can I help you? The women who looked around 30 stopped mid-sentence. Well look who it is Naruto and Hinata how are you two? Hey Ayame, I'm great just coming in for my regular stuff. Naruto took a seat next to Hinata. Oh but of course, what about you Hinata you haven't been here in a while have you? I'm fine, I'm sorry I have been so busy I planned on visiting when I had some free time. I bet you're really glad I brought you here then. Naruto said taking chopsticks from the kanhim next to him. Yeah, Hinata smiled at him gently, thank you Naruto-kun. A huge smile formed on Ayame's face. You two wait right here, I have to get my father. Naruto was happy to return to the shop he and Hinata had loved since they were little. Just seeing the excitement in her eyes when they got here brought so much happiness to him. Most girls would hate to come to places like this, but Hinata, she was different. She didn't care about expensive stuff or going to five-star restaurants. She seemed to just enjoy spending time with the people she cared about. Naruto wished that all girls could be more like Hinata. It would make dating a lot easier. My Hinata, have you grown? An older-looking man said, coming from the back of the shop. It's nice to see you again, Mr. Tsuki, Hinata said, slightly bowing. Still as kind as I remember. Can't say the same for you, Naruto. Naruto slammed his chopsticks down on the table. Hey. Hinata couldn't help but giggle a bit. I mean, really, I don't know how she is able to deal with you. You really have found someone special. He said, nodding his head as if to confirm what he was saying. Well-mannered, beautiful Naruto, you are a lucky man, he said, laughing. Hinata's face turned bright red. What do you mean, old man? Naruto questioned. You two are on a date, are you not? Tsuki asked, confused. Naruto's face also turned slightly red. What, no, me and Hinata are just hanging out as friends, he blurted out quickly. Why does everyone keep saying that? Both Tsuki's and Ayame's faces dropped into frowns. Seriously. How old are you two now anyway? Ayame questioned. We both will be 20 pretty soon, Naruto answered, confused. Why? Tsuki turned to Ayame with a concerned face. It's been years and you two still haven't become a. Well, I just thought that. Well, hope that. Never mind. Tsuki turned to the kitchen. I'll just go and make your orders, miso with extra chasu, right? They both nodded. Naruto might not have picked up on what Tsuki was saying, but Hinata sure did. Hinata picked up the warm cider Ayame had left for them and took a sip. Her gaze fell to the counter as she let her thoughts take over her. Even Tsuki and Ayame knew about her feelings for Naruto without her telling them, so why was it so hard for him to notice? Was it her looks? Was she not pretty enough for him? Or was it her personality? She was so shy and kind of simple, was that boring? Did it detour him? Hinata gazed deeply into the warm honey-colored liquid. She once again forced her mind free of the negative thoughts that surfaced. Hey Hinata, are you okay? Naruto looked at her with worry. She had just been sitting there staring into her cup for a long period of time. Oh, it's nothing, she said, not looking away from her cup. Don't say that. It's gotta be something. You finally stopped stuttering around me and now you're doing it again. Hinata hadn't noticed it, but to her surprise she did stop. It must have been because she was feeling comfortable with him. Naruto had become frustrated with Hinata hiding things from him. He reached over and took Hinata's hand in his, causing her to jump slightly in surprise. He gently removed the lavender glove from her hand and firmly gripped his cold hand with her warm one. Listen to me, Hinata. She gave him her full attention. I know things have been a little rough between us since you came back. Naruto took a deep breath and swallowed before he continued. But I just want it to be like it used to. When we had fun. When we were happy. Hinata looked at him with watery eyes. I don't know if I did anything wrong, but if I did, I'm so sorry. Really, I am Hinata. So please, can I have my best friend back? Naruto smiled sadly, awaiting her answer. Hinata squeezed his hand back. Tears began to fall down her face when she heard him swallow back his own tears. What are you talking about, silly? I never went anywhere. Hinata placed another hand on top of his and smiled gently, and I am never going anywhere. Any sadness Naruto was feeling was instantly melted away by the words she had just spoken, and he broke out into the biggest and brightest smile Hinata had ever seen. Okay. A fresh start, that means no more secrets between us, okay? Naruto raised his pinky up. Hinata giggled at his childish antics. It's a promise. She gripped her pinky with his to seal the promise. Sniffles and claps drew the attention of the two. That was beautiful, Ayame said, clapping. Here's your meals there on the house, Tsuki said, wiping his tears. Naruto and Hinata looked at each other for a moment before bursting out in a fit of laughter. Hinata made a promise to herself that she would not let anything get in the way of their friendship ever again, even if it was her own feelings. Naruto rubbed his hand with his other, secretly missing the warmth that had once been there. Can I open them now? Hinata frowned as she was once again pulled throughout the city streets. Haha, nope, I got one more surprise for you, and that means no peeking. Hinata slowly began to open her eyes. Ah. I said no peeking. Naruto placed his hands over her now closed eyes. Ah. You're no fun. Hinata giggled as he used his body to shove her forward. Hinata stuck both her arms out to her sides and began moving them. What are you doing now? Naruto questioned. I'm trying to see if I can feel where we're going, since one of my main senses are blocked. Naruto laughed and placed her arms at her sides. Haha, that won't be necessary, we're almost there. Hinata was proud of herself. Within just a few hours she had almost opened up to Naruto completely. She was really enjoying herself and any tension there was completely gone. Okay, now you can open them. She opened her eyes to an empty park that was covered with autumn leaves. Wow, this place hasn't changed either. Hinata said as she looked around. This park also held a lot of fond memories. Hinata and Naruto spent their weekends here sometimes when they were little. Yup, and check it out. Naruto pointed to a swing set that was tied to a tree. Hinata slowly walked towards it. They kept it still after all these years, she said as she ran her fingers against the rough surface. Yeah, I thought it would be gone too, especially since I tied it here, but nope, they kept it. Hinata took a seat on the old wooden plank of the swing. Push me, Hinata said quietly. Naruto was thrown off by her words. What was that? You want me to push you? A grown woman like yourself. Hinata's cheeks heated. Ah, never mind, you're right, it was stupid. She started to get up from the swing, but Naruto stopped her. No, I'll do it, I was just surprised, and with that he gave the swing a push. Naruto hadn't felt this nice in a long time. Being here with Hinata was like a dream he never wanted to wake from. He pushed the swing with a little more force each time it came back to his hands. Hey Hinata. Hinata, who had closed her eyes enjoying the breeze on her face, opened them, giving him her attention. Let's do this again sometime, okay? Naruto looked to the ground, slightly embarrassed by his question. Hinata smiled tenderly. Of course. Hinata jumped off the swing and turned to him. Just let me know and we will. Naruto smiled and took both her hands. Okay then. How about tomorrow? Hinata was shocked that was so soon. Really, are you sure? That's pretty soon, Hinata said, expecting him to back down. But Naruto gripped her hands tighter and gave her a firm nod. Hinata, we need you at table 7. Ah yes, I'm coming. Hinata quickly scribbled down the order of her current customers and made a mad dash to the front to get table 7's order. It was Friday afternoon and the place was full of people flying in and out of the shop. Fridays and Saturdays were always the worst because those were the only 2 days the shop would sell their famous vanilla and pumpkin spice lattes, and with the temperature dropping, everyone wanted to get their hands on one. Hinata, table 10 is still waiting for their orders. What's taking so long? The manager huffed in annoyance. I'm sorry, I'll get to them, Hinata sighed, running over to the table with their orders. Hinata hated these days. Other than herself and Naruto, there was only one other server on shift, so the workload was unbearable. The air was a mixture of humid and hot from all the steam coming from the coffee machines, and there was barely enough room to walk. On top of that, the manager was in and sat in a big chair in front of the shop watching everyone's movements like a damn hawk. Probably looking for poor performance so she could reduce someone's paycheck. And if that was true, Hinata knew she was in trouble, judging by the way the manager was staring at her with a look of detest and writing in her notebook. Or it could be that the manager just didn't like her, period. She was one of the only females at this shop that knew Naruto well. Thank God. Hinata didn't have to work the next day, because if she did, she was sure she would have tried to gorge her own eyes out with the bendy straws on the counter. Hinata frantically pushed the buttons of the coffee machine, trying to brew another cup as quickly as possible so she could get to the next customer. Come on, she grumbled, jamming her finger into the whipped cream button. But though the button was lit, no whipped cream came out of the dispenser. Really? Hinata banged her hand at the side of the machine trying to get it to work, but nothing happened. In need of some assistance, madam? Hinata looked up to meet the smiling face of her whiskered friend. Yeah, if it's not too much trouble. Ah ha ha. No need to fear, your friendly and incredibly handsome friend Naruto is here, he said, puffing his chest out and placing his hands on his hips. Hinata laughed. Yeah, just get to it, there's plenty of customers out there that need your saving, she said, playfully pushing him towards the machine. Hinata couldn't believe it had been almost a month since she reunited with her friends and things were actually going well. She felt like herself again and somewhat comfortable with everyone. Well, almost everyone. Okay, she had to admit things were still a tiny bit awkward around Naruto. Though they were closer than they were before, it just felt weird to be working with and surprisingly enjoying herself with the guy that she was in love with for years and not feeling like her heart was going to explode. Finally, she was starting to get over him and see him as just a friend. Of course, there was still a little bit of anxiety and heartache when she was around him, but other than that, she was okay. I think I found your problem, Hinata. Hinata scooted closer to Naruto to get a better look. Huh? What is it? She said, peering over his shoulders. There's no whipped cream in the dispenser, he said, turning to her and smirking. Hinata bit her lip as she felt her stomach drop in embarrassment. Oh, is that so? She said, her eyes drifting to the ground. Duh, how could she have not known that? She had been working there longer than him too. Hinata's cheeks reddened with shame. Naruto laughed. It's alright, to your defense, it's been pretty crazy in here. Mistakes happen, he said, patting her back. Now hand me that fresh pack over there, okay? Hinata reached over to grab a batch of fresh whipped cream but gripped the bag too tightly, getting it all over her hands and face. Wow, it's just not your day today, Naruto laughed, earning him a playful smack on the arm from Hinata. You, just go, I got it from here so you may leave, Hinata said, sticking her tongue out at him. Alright, your highness, whatever you say. Naruto laughed and turned to walk away, but not before scooping some whipped cream from Hinata's face with his finger and putting it in his mouth. A mischievous grin spread across his face as Hinata's turned red. Delicious, he said, releasing his finger from his mouth's grasp with a pop. He then turned around and walked away, humming a melody to himself. Hinata placed her hand to her cheek in shock. Was he? Did he just? No, there was no way Naruto would flirt with her like that. He was joking around, that was it. Just a joke, definitely. Hinata. Customers now. The manager barked. Ah, yes, she stammered as she quickly replaced the whipped cream and wiped her face. She couldn't allow herself to read too much into that, she had work to finish. As she passed by Naruto, she didn't notice the smirk plastered on his face as he watched her. Hinata's attention shifted to the door of the cafe opening with a ding. 3 girls around her age strutted into the shop, reeking of perfume and hairspray. Welcome to the Sweet Delights, see, Hinata started to greet but was interrupted by a Naruto Om. Just then one of the girls from the group ran over to Naruto and threw their arms around him. Naruto was caught off guard and stumbled a bit but quickly steadied himself. Whoa there. Someone has a little too much energy today, he said, lightly removing the girl's arms from around his neck. Haha, don't tease, you know I'm only this excited when I come to see you, the brunette said, playfully poking him in the chest. The girl was tall and had a face that looked model material, you know, bright blue eyes, a slender nose and plush round red lips, but her body was definitely not in that category. Instead of the typical stick-like body of a model, the girl was extremely curvy, with giant and a butt that looked a little too big to be real. Naru, I've been so bored lately, you know how to show a girl a good time, right? I'm a little thirsty, so how about we get some drinks after, well. You're done with whatever this place is, Maybe do some shopping, she whined while playing with her hair and shoving her chest even farther into his. Well, you see, Naruto said, scratching his head, trying desperately to think of an excuse. Hinata couldn't believe what she was witnessing. How could they just stand there in front of everyone and act so inappropriate? And as a matter of fact, who was this chick? And why didn't she know about her? Judging by the tightness of her red dress and the way she was pressing her body against him, Hinata was sure of one thing: she was no model. Hinata scanned the restaurant to see if anyone was paying attention to the madness that was occurring right in front of her eyes. And to her dismay, there were. People in all directions were ogling the two, like they just saw a donut grow legs and walk. Some cringed in disgust, others whooped and hollered, and once Hinata heard a few cameras go off, she knew she had to end this unprofessional, whatever this was. She quickly dashed towards the manager in hope she would deal with this chaos, but stopped midway when she saw the manager had in fact noticed what was occurring. But instead of running over to the duo and strangling the living crap out of them for their disgusting behavior, she sat curled up on her brown chair biting her pencil tip, with jealousy and were those tears Hinata saw in her eyes. In that moment Hinata knew it was definitely all up to her now. This was a cafe, not some hormonal high school dance. Ing up the courage Naruto had lent her over the past weeks, she marched over to the duo with determination sparkling in her eyes. When she was directly in front of them, she took a deep breath and exhaled. "Hinata," Naruto said, looking at her with the word help screaming out through his eyes. "Excuse me, madam, is there something I can help you with?" Hinata said as sweetly as she could, while on the inside for some reason she wanted to drag her out of the cafe by her hair. The curly-haired brunette removed her face from the crook of Naruto's neck and turned ever so slowly to look at her. After looking Hinata up and down and snickering, she replied, "No, I don't want any coffee or cookies or anything like that," she said, rolling her eyes, "so you can, no go. I'm kinda busy if you haven't noticed," she said, rubbing her head into Naruto's chest. Hinata, on top of being annoyed with the girl's attitude, felt an overwhelming amount of anger leaking out of her, which she couldn't figure out where was coming from. "Oh really? Well then I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave," Hinata said overly sweetly. "Excuse me," the brunette yelled, marching towards her. Naruto threw his hand in front of her to keep her from going any further. "She's right, Nina, I'm kinda busy right now, maybe we can talk another time," Naruto said, flashing her a gentle smile. The brunette exhaled sharply, rolled her eyes and sashayed out the door, her friends following behind. Hinata looked up at Naruto, who was watching the woman leave with a tint of sadness in his eyes. Who exactly was that girl? And what did she mean to him? Naruto gazed dreamily at the unaware Hinata, who was currently scrubbing the tables. Ever since their non-date, an overwhelming warmth filled his chest. He'd all of a sudden would feel the urge to tease her or mess with her hair or just touch her in general, and it was freaking him out. It was like she had casted a spell on him or something. Naruto rested his chin in his hands as he continued to stare at the beautiful brunette. Then, as if she could feel his stare, Hinata turned around and met his gaze. "Is there something I can help you with, sir?" she said, playfully mimicking him and resting her chin in her hands. Naruto sighed and looked up at the ceiling as if he was actually thinking about it. "Well, I'm not sure." Hinata laughed. "Then do you mind? I'm working." Naruto smiled at her response. "Well, there is one thing I want." Hinata scooted towards him a little bit and looked him in the eyes. And what is that?" "I want to hang out with you some more." Hinata's cheeks turned red at his words. What do you mean by that?" Naruto laughed. "Like after you're done with that table, we could go out to the park or maybe my place and, just chill." Naruto leaned closer towards her and smiled smugly. "What else did you have in mind?" Before Hinata could answer and maybe pass out, the door opened. "I'm sorry, we're closed," Hinata said a little too loudly. "Really, so you can't make time for me at all? Such a shame, and here I thought we were friends," said Sakura jokingly. "Oh, it's you, Sakura-san, sorry," said Hinata, taking the opportunity to slip away from Naruto. "What brings you here?" "Funny you should ask that, because I'm actually here to see you, Hinata." Hinata looked at Sakura, totally confused. What is it?" she asked, a little concerned. Yeah, what is it? Naruto said, moving towards the two girls, curiosity staining his face. Sakura rolled her eyes in annoyance. Well, me and the girls were talking and we thought it would be great if us ladies got together and hung out. Hinata's eyes widened in surprise. It had been a long time since the girls and her got together. In fact, the last time she could remember was in the beginning of freshman year of high school. Today? Hinata questioned. Sakura nodded her head in response. Sue, what do you say, Hinata? It will be fun for sure. And you're done with work, right? Now just hold on right there, Missy, Naruto said, wagging his finger in Sakura's face, which she slapped away. Me and Hinata already have plans, isn't that right, Hinata? Hinata's eyebrows raised in surprise. What was she supposed to say? She hadn't agreed yet. Oh come on, Naruto, you and Hinata have been spending so much time together already, it's becoming sickening. Naruto's eyes narrowed. I don't like what you're insinuating, Sakura, he said as his cheeks turned a light pink. Sakura wrinkled her nose in disgust. I'm not insinuating anything, you perv. In fact, I'm surprised you even know what that word means. Sakura took both Hinata's hands and led her around the counter. Come on, Hinata, it can be a sleepover and everything. Naruto chuckled. A sleepover? What, are you 16? This isn't high school, Sakura. Quote. Sakura picked up a pot of still hot coffee and poured some on Naruto's pants. Hot 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 hot. He screamed while rubbing his now slightly burnt thighs in pain. We'll be leaving then, said Sakura as she dragged the still shocked Hinata out the door. Naruto, though still in pain, ran to the door. Hinata. Hinata struggled, but turned around to face him as she was being dragged down the street. Guess I'll see you around, he said, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. Hinata found his awkwardness cute and smiled gently at him. Yes, I guess you will. Goodbye, Naruto-kun, she then waved with her free hand and continued down the street. Naruto watched disappointingly as Sakura forced Hinata in her car and sped down the street. Damn it, he yelled, smacking his forehead. Sakura-san, what is it? Sakura replied, giving Hinata half her attention while the other half was on the road. Where are we going exactly? Hinata questioned. A small smile grew on Sakura's face. Well, we all thought since none of us have visited your house, it would be a good idea to go there. Sakura slowly stopped the car at a red light and turned to Hinata. So you tell me. Hinata's eyes widened. Her house. Why of all the places did they have to choose there? She had been doing a lot of studying lately, so the place was probably a mess at the moment and she was too nervous to show it to them right now. She had to get out of this situation fast. Well, I'm not so sure about that. I kinda want to visit one of you guys' houses, it's been a while, Sue. Nonsense. You can visit us anytime, she said, driving again, plus everyone is there already, Sakura mumbled. What? Hinata yelled and turned towards Sakura. How did you even figure out where I live? Let's just say Tenten is very persuasive, Sakura laughed. Neji, Sakura said, nodding. Hinata slapped her hand on her forehead and exhaled. She knew she shouldn't have told him where she lived. Sure, Neji was trustworthy and family, but he had a weak spot, and that weak spot was none other than her spunky, tomboyish friend Tenten. And if she told Ino the biggest gossip she knew, that meant everyone probably knew. Hey, cheer up, this will be fun, I promise, Sakura said, patting Hinata. We're here too. Hinata looked out the window to see Ino and Tenten outside her front door with a bunch of bags and waving. Hinata, hurry up and get your over here, I can't feel my toes, Ino yelled, clinging onto the sides of her mustard coat. Yeah, please, if I have to sit here and listen to any more of Ino's nagging, she's going over this banister, I swear, Tenten growled. Ino then sent a death glare towards Tenten. Come on, Hinata, let's get over there before they each other, Sakura said, getting out of the car. Hinata quickly followed close behind her. Ino was a great friend but did have a tendency to get on people's nerves, especially Sakura and Tenten, even though they were close friends. Hinata nervously placed the key into the door and turned the knob. Then she slowly opened the door. Here it is, sorry about the mess. The apartment was very spacious, When you first went in, there was a small hallway that led to the living room. Everything was very modern. The furniture was a mixture of white and gray. A huge chandelier hung from the ceiling and the walls were a nice cream color. Off to the far right in front of large glass windows there was a glass dining table with 6 chairs with glass legs, and off to the left was a very large lavender piano. The kitchen was an open concept with an island and black granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. A huge flat screen TV with a black backsplash hung on a wall in front of the plush white couch. In front of the couch laid a few random papers and books, but with the beautiful decor you could barely notice it. "Holy shit, Hinata, your apartment is amazing," Tenten said, looking around the place. "The inside looks nothing like the outside. This must have costed you a fortune," Sakura said, staring at the golden flower statue that sat on the coffee table in front of the couch. "Well, I technically didn't buy it, my father did," Hinata said, picking up the papers on the floor. "I told him I wanted a small and simple apartment, and this is what he found me." "If this is what your dad thinks is small and simple, man, I wonder what large and extravagant is to him," Sakura said, flopping onto the couch. "When I told him I didn't want it and it was too big, he found me another place that was even bigger. So I settled on this," Hinata said, taking a seat next to Sakura. "To be honest, I'm surprised he even let me save up to buy a car on my own and pay for the monthly payments for this place, which are suspiciously low." "OMG, Hinata, ILOOOVVVE, your room," said Ino. The room had lavender walls with a gold trimming. Everything in the room was a mixture of lavender, white and golden, giving the room a Victorian look. There was a huge window with golden drapes and 2 golden and white chairs on either side. The bed was white and lavender with large decorative pillows and a huge white leather headboard. She had 2 nightstands, a couch and dresser that was next to a walk-in closet with a mirror on it, which Ino had found and was currently digging in. "And you have so much clothes. Why haven't I seen you wear any of this stuff?" "Oh, you have to let me borrow some of these dresses," Ino said, grabbing an arm full of dresses. "Go ahead, take what you like. Father bought me a lot of clothing he thought would be suitable for someone at my age, but none of that stuff is really me. I rather stick with the clothes I buy," Hinata responded. "Oh, come on, Hinata, you would look great in all of this stuff," Ino said, coming out of the room with the dresses. "You just gotta try new things. I bet you haven't tried on half of these. Ooh, we could give each other makeovers while we're at it," Ino squealed while jumping up and down. Hinata chuckled. Naruto was right, they were acting like they were in high school again. "Forget the damn clothes, check out this view," Tenten yelled from the balcony. The girls all joined Tenten and witnessed a dream-like sight. The apartment, being on a sort of hill-like plain, gave you a gorgeous view of the city from above. The lights from the city's building and cars looked like rainbow-colored stars twinkling in the night, and with the hills behind it, the city had a fairy tale-like look. "Okay, that's it, I have to move in with you," Sakura said, mesmerized by the view. "Me too," Ino and Tenten said at the same time. "I will admit the reason I stuck with this place did also have to do with this," Hinata said, sighing with delight. "Come on guys, let's go inside, it's pretty cold out here," Hinata said, pulling her friends into the house, who looked like they were in a trance. It was going to be a long night. So, Hinata started sipping on her caramel tea. "Where is Tamari anyway?" Sakura sent her a look that said she shouldn't have asked that question, and before Hinata could take back her question, Ino answered with, "Well, if you're dying to know, bunny, I will tell you." Ino walked over with a tray of margaritas and sat in a chair across from Hinata. "So I gave her a phone call to inform her of our little get-together, and when she picked up I could tell something was off." Ino set down the tray on the coffee table before she continued. She sounded a little irritated and tired for some reason. She immediately said she couldn't come because she was busy. "Yeah, okay, so she was busy, what's the big deal?" Tenten scoffed. Sakura all of a sudden reached over, grabbed a drink and began chugging it, because she obviously knew what she was going to say. "Here's where it gets juicy. She wasn't alone," Ino said with a smirk, tugging her lips. "What do you mean she wasn't alone?" Hinata said, leaning forward. Well, me being me tried to get more info. She of course wasn't giving it to me, but just before she hung up I was able to hear someone's voice. Get on with it already, Tenten yelled, growing impatient. Ino smiled. I heard Shikamaru say who's that on the phone just before she hung up. Hinata spit a little of her tea out, shocked at what Ino told her. That's sick. You don't think they were? Tenten started. Ino nodded. Uh-huh, she said, smiling like the gossip she was. They were definitely. Please don't say it, Sakura said, cutting her off, disgusted with the very thought, but to no avail. Hinata covered her ears as Ino rambled on about the gross theories she had about Tamari and Shikamaru's activities. I mean, are they even going out, and if they are, why didn't she tell us? Ino questioned. Maybe it's because me and him used to date. Hinata's mouth opened in shock. You used to date Shikamaru? Ino laughed at her reaction. Yeah, briefly after I got over Sasuke I thought it was time to start dating. Ino glanced out the window as she continued. He was always there for me and I started to have feelings for him, and well, the rest is history. So whatever did happen I never really knew? Sakura questioned, resting her hands at the sides of her face. Well, I guess we both realized that we were more of good friends than lovers, and we decided it was for the best that we end it. Ino smiled, looking up at the ceiling. Don't get me wrong, I love the kid, but it took me a while to realize it was a friendship kinda love. Hinata stared at Ino in deep thought. Could that be what her and Naruto shared, friendship love? Maybe she was confused like Ino was. Did she get friendship love and real love mixed up? But then what was this lingering pain she felt in her heart? Speaking of relationships, what's going on with you and Sasuke, Sakura? Tenten questioned, raising an eyebrow. Sakura's face went red immediately but turned sour not too long after, and she reached for the bottle of wine on the table. Oh no, she's going for the wine. Bad sign, bad sign. Tenten said, trying to stop her. Ino grabbed the wine from out of Sakura's reach. Sakura. Honey, if there's something going on, tell us, we're your friends. Yes, I agree with Ino-san, tell us, you're always helping us with our problems, let us help you, don't drown your sorrows in alcohol. Hinata said, taking Sakura's hand. Sakura's eyes filled with tears and she pulled Hinata into a bear hug. Oh, you guys, it's horrible, I thought we were getting closer but nothing's changing, she cried. What is it? What did that bastard do this time? I'll rip him apart, Tenten yelled, standing up. Calm down, gladiator. Tell us what happened, Sakura. Ino said, forcing Tenten to sit and rubbing Sakura's back. Nothing is what happened, that's the problem, absolutely nothing is happening. Even though we're talking more and I drive him around, our relationship is the same. Sakura cried into Hinata's shoulder. Like the other day, we went out to get some food and I decided to be bold and took his hand and he actually let me and didn't pull away. Sakura sniffled. I was so happy and we walked into the restaurant still holding hands and everything, but when the cashier lady asked if we were dating he quickly let go of my hand and said no. It was like he forgot he was holding it, and when he remembered it grossed him out. I just don't know what to do anymore, guys, it's been so many years. Hinata hugged Sakura tighter. I'm so sorry, Sakura, I'm not sure what to do, but just like you supported me all those years ago, I will support you. Ino jumped up with determination. I got it. Tomorrow let's have a girls' night out. There's this new club called the Falling Leaf, I say we go check it out. And you know what? Men, I say it's time for us girls to enjoy ourselves, Ino preached. I'm totally in, I could use a break from all this boy drama, Tenten said, throwing her fist up. Ino looked confused at Tenten. You're in? What about Neji? I love Neji, but sometimes he can be such a damn coward. No offense, Hinata. Hinata thought about it for a second but then nodded in agreement. He hasn't made our relationship officially yet either, and I think he feels like that's okay, because he's made his feeling known to me, but it's not. Tenten yelled. And I'm not gonna stand for it anymore. A little jealousy should wake him up, hopefully. Ino smiled. So you want me to accidentally tell him you're coming with me to the club, and then when he shows up you're going to cling to the nearest guy? Tenten nodded. You know me so well. The two bursted out in laughter. Sakura wiped the tears from her eyes. I'm in too, Sasuke can go to hell, cha. She yelled. Hinata sat there silently watching her friends form some sort of babe revenge squad and she wanted no part of it. Hinata could see the determination practically leaking out of them and shivered, God help these poor guys. Don't think we forgot about you Hina Bunny, you're coming with us, Ino said in a sing-song voice, slinging her arm around Hinata's shoulder. Huh? Why? Hinata questioned. Why? Well, when's the last time you had a date, Missy? This is the perfect opportunity. I don't want to. I don't think it's a good idea, Hinata pleaded. Why? Because Naruto would be angry, Sakura said, causing Hinata's eyes to widen in shock. What's going on between you two anyway? I've been hearing a lot of stuff, Tenten questioned. Nothing, Hinata replied. Liar, said Ino, who was enjoying Hinata's reaction. I heard you've been visiting his house a lot. Are you guys pulling a Shikamaru and Tima? No, Hinata yelled, cutting her off, her face now as red as a tomato. Sometimes he invites me over to hang out, like ya know, watch a movie or play video games or just talk, that's it, she yelled. So no booty calls, I get it, but then you two must be dating, right? Sakura questioned. Nope, we're just friends, no feelings whatsoever. You're lying. Don't think I didn't see you two flirting with each other before I entered the shop, Sakura stated. Hinata was shocked along with Ino and Tenten. Sakura had been there the whole time listening to them. You should have seen them, you guys. I want one thing, Hinata. Sakura imitated, deepening her voice and pushing her hair back with her hands. And what's that, Naruto-kun? She said, emphasizing the kun and heightening her voice. I want to hang out with you, Sakura said, flipping her hair, causing Tenten and Ino to die in laughter. Oh, Naruto-kun, she said seductively. I meant just chilling at my place. What did you mean? Hina, Sakura said with a wink. Then all the girls laughed loudly except Hinata, who was pouting, her cheeks stained pink. That's not even how it went, Hinata pouted, and we weren't flirting, we were joking around. Yeah, and the way he ran after you was just a joke too, right? Sakura said, breathless. Hinata didn't know what to think. That also confused her. Maybe he was trying to be a good guy, he couldn't like her, right? Oh, what did she care? She was done looking at him like that anyway. You know, on a serious note, even though you were emotionally scarred in high school by him, that doesn't mean you should just stop loving him completely. You can still love him, it's okay, Tenten said, patting Hinata. We won't judge you. Hinata had had enough. But I don't love him anymore, I'm finished, I've moved on. Hinata yelled, causing the room to go silent. In fact, you're right, Ino, I could use a boyfriend, I'm coming too, she said angrily and crossed her arms. All three girls looked at Hinata in shock and turned to each other. Well, okay then, are you sure? Ino said. Very, Hinata said, nodding her head. Well then, it's settled, tomorrow night it's gonna be us four. The dance floor and alcohol beyond end, Ino yelled excitedly. Yeah, all the girls yelled except Hinata, who still was feeling uneasy. Had she made the right decision? Sakura yawned loudly. Well, I'm exhausted, where are we sleeping, Hinata? After a long night of talking, food and chick flicks, the girls were changed and ready for bed. Well, there's a guest room, so I guess 2 people could sleep there and someone could sleep with me. Nah, I say we all sleep in your bed, Hinata, it's big enough, Sakura said, and the other 2 nodded in agreement. Okay, if you guys want to, I guess it's fin. Hinata didn't get to finish her sentence. All 3 ran into her room and literally jumped into her bed. Ah, it's so soft, like a freaking cloud, Tenten said, rolling on the bed. I know, you seriously have to tell me where you get your furniture, Sakura sighed. Hinata laughed. I will definitely do that now, scoot over. Hinata ran and jumped into the bed with them. They all broke out into a fit of laughter as they rolled around and threw pillows at each other. Hinata felt so relaxed. Being with her best friends was the best stress reliever ever. The apartment felt so warm and lively compared to the lonely cold nights she spent there on a regular basis. She was glad that she went along with this sleepover idea. The girls had settled down under the covers and now were staring at the golden chandelier that hung from Hinata's bedroom ceiling. Hey Hinata, how are you feeling now? Sakura questioned. Huh? Great, I was just thinking that this sleepover was a good idea," Hinata responded, slightly confused. "Do you feel less stressed out now, Bunny?" Ino said, turning on her side to look at her. "Yeah, I do actually, thank you guys. Good, we just want you to know that you can always count on us, don't forget, Tenten said. Hinata started to put the pieces together. They had thrown this sleepover for a purpose. They had seen how much Hinata had struggled to open up and how all the drama from her past and work was taking a toll on her. So they threw this sleepover to help her relax and make her realize she wasn't alone, that she had them. It was Saturday morning and it seemed like everyone was out and about. Though it was the middle of fall, the temperature had somehow skyrocketed to a cool 75 degrees, and before the cold could form its icy grip around Konoha again, its citizens wanted to enjoy the day. After all, with this kinda of weather, who'd want to stay inside, right? Well, Hinata Hyuga would, that's who. After a miserable week of never-ending tests, broken coffee machines, dirty counters, and annoying customers, getting a day off from work was like a gift from the heavens to her. Who cared about going out and enjoying the warm weather when she could lay in her bed, wrapped up in her blanket burrito, and dream about when she was younger and didn't have to deal with all this crap? It was a, well, shut up and leave her alone kinda day, and that meant there was no way in hell she was getting up earlier than 12 o'clock. But it seemed like the sun had other plans for her, because just as she was getting ready to get ice cream with her little sister in dreamland, the sunlight bursted through her curtains and nearly blinded her. "Ah, for God's sakes!" she screamed, thrashing and kicking her sheets off of her. Now officially pissed, Hinata fought furiously with her sheets to defend her from the piercing sun's light. She'd been through too much shit this week to give in so easily. She was going to get this rest no matter what it took. Rolling over on her side with the sheets and a pillow now covering her head, she thought she won the battle and began to drift back to sleep. But then, like the world was practically forcing her to get up, the loud beeping of an alarm clock she did not set sent her flying off her bed. Hinata rarely raised her voice. She liked to solve her issues through logical reasoning and understanding, but in that very moment Hinata lost it. "Okay, who the hell set an alarm clock after I specifically said I wanted to sleep in?" she yelled, now on her feet and facing the bed. Hinata's eyes widened when she saw the bed completely empty with her friends nowhere in sight. She then turned to the source of the pesky noise to find out it was coming from her own phone, which had a pink sticky note attached to it. Walking over to her phone and removing the note, she began to read it. "Hey Hinata, it's the girls. Thanks for letting us stay over. See, didn't we tell you it would be fun? We all had to leave and we didn't want to wake you up. By the way, did you know you talk in your sleep, so we kinda just snuck out, but we also set an alarm on your phone. We heard the weather is supposed to be perfect today. Go out and enjoy it instead of staying all coped up in this place." And Lavender Bunny, really? Your password was so easy to crack, it's ridiculous. Hope we helped cheer you up a bit. Remember, we're your friends, and if you have any issues, don't be afraid to tell us. We really hope we can do this again sometime. It was amazing, thanks. Your friends. P.S. We picked out a dress and some shoes from your closet for you to wear tonight, and you better wear them. Don't forget 8 p.m. The Failing Leaf. Hinata sighed as she slid against the wall behind her and sat on the floor. She wanted to be mad at them, but she couldn't find it in her heart to be. They were just trying to help. Her thoughts were interrupted by a low grumble that shook her stomach. On the bright side, she could go out and have a proper breakfast now for once, and oh boy, did some Belgian waffles sound good right now. She was about to walk off to her bathroom to take a shower before her phone vibrated, indicating she had a new text message. She was hesitant about answering it right away or taking a shower first. It was probably just her father checking in on her again for like the 50th time this week. Giving in, she decided she'd check and was surprised to see the text was not from her father but Naruto Uzumaki. Hinata threw her head back and laughed at the message he sent her, which read, "Hey, do you wanna get breakfast or something? I'm feeling in the mood for something sweet, plus you owe me after you ditched me yesterday." Hinata responded immediately, "Wow, you know, it's pretty scary how you always know just what I'm thinking all the time." And I didn't ditch you, I never said yes. Well, I'm supposed to. I would be failing at my job as your friend if I didn't, and since you wanna get technical, you owe me because you didn't say yes. Hinata laughed again. Fine, you got yourself a deal. Meet me at Simply's Waffle House and try not be late this time. Naruto smirked and responded. It's a race then. Naruto and Hinata had also exchanged numbers over the past weeks and he was happy they did. Texting Hinata had always been so much fun. He quickly rushed to get dressed but was interrupted when the doorbell rang. Naruto sighed in annoyance and struggled to put his shirt back on as he headed towards the door. Sasuke, if that's you right now is not the time for another sparring match, I'm busy. He practically ripped the door off its hinges, opening it, and was prepared to yell at whoever it was for bothering him. His mouth hung open in response to who it was at his door. Nina W. What are you doing here? He asked in shock at her arrival. In front of him stood none other than the curvy brunette from the coffee shop, but this time dressed like a regular human being. She swapped out her tight red dress and pumps for a mint green hoodie, black leggings and white sneakers. She wore light makeup and tied her hair up in a high ponytail. Well, it's nice to see you too, sweetie, she said sarcastically as she walked inside. She then began to wander around the apartment, picking up random items and looking at them. Wow, this place is surprisingly clean, but what happened to all our pictures? Naruto ran over and snatched the picture she was holding out of her hand. Is there something you wanted? I was about to head out, he said, placing the picture down carefully. What? Your girlfriend can't come and visit you every once in a while, she said, rubbing the side of his arm playfully. Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem if you were still my girlfriend. Becoming irritated, he removed her hand from his arm. Now stop messing around and answer the question, and oh, while you're at it, explain why you came to my job. The brunette laughed obnoxiously at his question, getting a little impatient. Aren't we, darling? Fine, I'll tell you. You haven't been answering my calls. She started wandering around the place yet again. We never speak anymore and I missed my Naruto, so I decided to give you a visit. I have my ways, she said, raising an eyebrow. Naruto placed his hand to his forehead and exhaled. And was it really necessary to show up dressed like that? Nina began to play with his shirt collar absent-mindedly. Well, I thought I might as well make an entrance. Did you like it? She said, laughing. Naruto scoffed and rolled his eyes at her. Sue, it's been a while, and now that I finally found you, what do you say we catch up? She said, biting her lip seductively, her arms locked around his neck. Naruto couldn't believe what was happening. Here she was barging into his home, touching his stuff, and now was trying to get into his pants without a "Hey, or how ya doing? Why did he date this chick again?" Okay, now listen, he said, trying to get away from her rubbing and groping. Yeah, I'm listening, she said, kissing along his jawbone, breathing heavily. This can't happen, I have to get dressed, I'm busy, remember? Well, let me help you. She then began to slide her hands under his shirt slowly to undress him, and Naruto lost it. He grabbed both of her arms, stopping her from proceeding, and lightly pushed her away from him. I said enough, you need to leave now, he barked while looking at her sternly. But that didn't stop her. She smirked and began walking towards him. Oh, come on, don't be that way, Naruto-chan, you know I still love. Shut up, don't you dare say it, he yelled, frightening Nina a bit and stopping her from moving. I don't want to hear any more of your lies, you don't love anyone but your damn self. He said, his voice changing to a painful low tempo. Nina was shocked at his words and was speechless. Then, feeling brave, started to walk towards him again. That's not true, and you know that. I have and always will love you, Naruto. That's why I keep trying to get in contact with you. She reached up and placed a hand to his cheek with tears threatening to pour out her eyes. I want to fix us. Naruto's eyes, however, filled with rage as he ripped her hand from his face. Oh yeah, and who was one who ruined the relationship in the first place? Nina. He yelled. You're the one who cheated on me, don't forget, and not just one time. And I already said I was sorry. She yelled, back, tears now falling from her eyes. Those guys meant nothing to me. I was at a bad time in my life and made some horrible decisions, but I've changed. You're the only one I want now. Please, Naruto. Naruto remained silent and turned away from her. Just get out, he said, pointing to the door. Nina broke down into a painful sob. Please, she sniffed. The light makeup she wore was now running and smudged against her face. She furiously wiped at it with her sleeve, only making it worse and blackening it. Just one more chance, I genuinely love yo. Naruto's teeth clenched at the word love and he spun around. I said get out. He yelled. I'm done giving you chances, it's time for me to move on with my life. Naruto hated to be so harsh with her, but he knew it was the only way to make her listen. This, after all, wasn't the first time this happened to him. Nina turned around and began to run out of his apartment crying, but stopped when she saw his phone vibrating on the table next to the door. Walking over to it slowly, with Naruto unaware, she picked up the cell phone. Her eyes widened in shock at the image that appeared along with a message. It was the same chick from Naruto's job that had been so rude to her, whose smiling face popped up on the screen. The icon was her and Naruto making silly faces with their arms around each other. It must have been an old picture because Naruto's hair was not short but longer and more unruly, and the woman's was the same but a little shorter and less smooth. They both looked about 17, so that meant he knew her for a while, which pissed Nina off even more. The message read, "Hey, I just left my house and I'm on my way, better hurry up, slowpoke, looks like I'm winning this race." Nina became infuriated. "Hey Naru, mind telling me who the hell is Hinata Hyuga?" she said painfully sweetly. Naruto's attention shifted to his now pissed ex dangling his phone in her hand. He immediately sprinted over to her and tried to take the phone. "Give me back my phone, she has nothing to do with this," he yelled, struggling with her. "She's that bitch from the coffee shop, isn't she?" she yelled, keeping the phone from his grasp. "So that's why she was so interested in helping you. Is she your girlfriend now?" Naruto tried to grab her arm, but she put the phone in her other hand. "Oh ho ho, no wait, you're probably sleeping with the little whore after all. That seems like the only thing you're good at. That's it. Ah ha ha, so this is what you meant by moving on with your life. Oh wow." He finally was able to snatch the phone out of her hand. "I'm done arguing with you. Leave," he said, breathing hard, and began guiding her out the door. "If you think this is over, Naruto, then you're a damn fool. Tell that bitch she better sleep with one eye open." And with that, Naruto finally got her out of his apartment and slammed the door shut. Naruto walked over to a vase filled with flowers on his kitchen counter and, releasing all his pent-up anger, he picked it up and threw it against the wall, shattering it into millions of pieces. "You!" he yelled out in frustration and fisted his hair. Naruto's mind was fuzzy, filled with so many stressful thoughts and emotions. Why did every relationship he have always end up so messy like this? Was it him? Naruto slumped down to the ground and stared up at the ceiling. He couldn't do it anymore. Maybe he was meant to be alone for rest of his life. Hinata checked the time on her phone. It was 9:50, making it officially 20 minutes since she arrived, and still no Naruto. Hinata ran her fingers through her hair and exhaled. What was taking him so long? Was she being stood up? Hinata sat frustratingly patient in the soft chair of the Waffle House. It was a very cute, eye-catching shop, with bright, vibrant colors on the walls, and had cozy leather and wood furniture. Hinata's face went sour as she began to put pieces together in her head. Was this a ... OMG, she had invited Naruto to a chick's hangout spot. Hinata's eyes quickly scanned the shop for confirmation. There were tons of females with either their friends or kids. Yep, Hinata could not picture any guy coming to a place like this. No wonder Naruto wasn't here. He probably took one look at the place and took off. Curse her cravings for strawberry waffles and hot chocolate. That was it. She was going to call him and find out what was going on. Maybe they could go somewhere else that would make him more comfortable. She began frantically dialing his number. "Excuse me, ma'am, can I get you something?" Not now. I'm waiting for someone, thank you," she said, not looking up and placing her phone to her ear. "Really? Then shall I give you some company until they arrive?" Hinata instantly became irritated. Was this guy seriously trying to flirt with her right now? And how unprofessional. No thank you, she said coldly, sending him the most vexing death glare she could muster. Her glare instantly faded as she came face to face with Naruto's warm smile. Are you sure I can go if you really want me to? He joked as he pretended to back away. Hinata rolled her eyes and giggled. Just sit down, you. Man, he was really good at sneaking up on people. Naruto plopped down in the chair directly across from Hinata with a smirk still tugging at his lips. Sue, she started in a sing-song voice. Isn't there something you want to tell me? Naruto stopped sipping the water the waiter had left them. Tell you what? He asked, genuinely confused. Hinata smiled gently at him. Why, you're late. I did warn you, ya know. She said, resting her cheek in her hand. Oh, ihaha ya. Naruto scratched his head as if digging for an idea on what to say. Hinata, however, noticed that something was off about him. Then again, he was never good at hiding his emotions. Naruto-kun, is there something going on? She asked, concerned. She knew it. The Waffle House was too girly and he forced himself to come because he felt bad and now he was suffering. How could she have been so foolish? I guess you could say that. It's nothing really, don't worry about it. Naruto responded, trying to act as calm as possible. But Hinata wasn't giving in. She reached across the table and boldly squeezed his hand. Hey, we made a promise, didn't we? No secrets between us, she said sadly. You have to hold up your end of the deal also. Naruto really didn't want Hinata to get caught up in his mess, but damn it, he knew she would break him, especially when she looked so sad like that. He had a feeling he would regret this later. Okay, fine, well, you see, my ex-girlfriend showed up at my apartment earlier and caused issues, no big deal. His voice heightening at the end of the sentence. There was complete silence. Hinata did not expect him to say that. Well, it's not like she was completely unaware of Naruto's love life. She was sure he had to have had girlfriends. Aside from being an amazing person in general, he wasn't a bad-looking guy either, especially now. He was older, his jaw and cheekbones more defined and masculine in contrast to his more rounder face in his teenage years. His hair was cut shorter than it was in high school and he had evidence of facial hair along his chin, giving him a more mature look. His shoulders were broad, his arms were toned, and his form-fitting black t-shirt left little imagination about the rest of his muscular upper body. Overall, bluntly speaking, he was smoking hot and any girl would find him at least a little bit attractive. Hinata wasn't sure if she should feel guilty for thinking that way about him. There was nothing wrong with finding your friend attractive, right? It's not like she's interested in him or anything. And there was nothing wrong with being a little annoyed that his ex-girlfriend showed up at his apartment earlier either. After all, she was being protective of her friend. Hey, are you listening to me? Naruto questioned, snapping his fingers. Hinata blinked several times, shaking herself out of her deep thought. What? Quote. Naruto chuckled. I said she came over and brought up some stuff from the past. He stopped a moment and gazed out the window as if the very thought brought pain to him. To make a long story short, she ended up leaving more bitter and pissed than she was when we were dating. Hinata couldn't help but feel sad hearing Naruto's explanation. He seemed so depressed talking about his past girlfriend, it made her regret asking the question in the first place. And here she was worried about him hating the Waffle House. Hinata looked down at her glass with gloom. Oh, I see. Hey, are you okay, Naruto-kun? Yeah, I'm fine. Now that I'm here, he said, smiling his goofy grin. Hinata giggled. Well, that's good. Let's just enjoy ourselves today and not think about that kinda stuff. You have me, remember? Hinata's face turned bright red as she realized what she said. I mean I'm always here if you wanna talk, she said, stopping herself from playing with her fingers, a habit she developed when she was nervous. Naruto laughed as his depressed state slowly began to melt away. He broke out into his fox-like grin. No, you're right, I do have you. Thank you, and you know what? I'm not gonna let this get me down, waiter. He yelled, waving his arms frantically in the air, causing Hinata to burst out in laughter.